based on the rules and regulations. And, the money people are not performing based on the rules and regulations. And it just seems lopsided. Also, it holds us in a situation where, let's say all of a sudden we get people who really legitimately want to apply for the grants or whatever. If we physically don't have the money in the bank, then we cannot disperse those things. So this is an area that we said we would address from last year. So my question now is, has the treasurer sent an official letter to that department where the money comes from, stating that, this is really, it puts all of us in harm's way, or, because not everybody has money in their pocket to just pull out and pay for different things that we need to do, our jobs.
Yeah, no, Commissioner Pinckney, I hear you. I think that that's a great point. I don't know if
Well,
that should
Cece can
Cece
answer.
herself. Yeah, well, I was going to say Cece. I mean, well, I'd open this up to the floor to everyone. I mean, I think that if we wanted to have some type of weight, it should come from all of us. But I mean, Cece, have you reached out and just sort of discussed?
As I said, it's a citywide issue. I can, I've worked with the Office of ANC, but that's not where the money comes from. And so I'm willing to work with whoever, but I think we have very limited power in that. Again, I'm willing to, but as I said, it's a citywide issue.
Okay, well, if it being a citywide issue doesn't mean or excuse them from performing their task at the same level that they have us to perform ours. If we don't get our information out there about our taxes or about ABC, XYZ on time or whatever, but this is not their money. This is the money that comes from the city. So is it that the city itself is not putting the money there appropriately, or is it, what is it? And I think getting around to what the problem is and working on fixing that internal problem, because it's a problem.
No, I
Okay.
agree.
And just because everybody else is going through it doesn't make it right, and it doesn't make it acceptable. So, I believe that maybe the treasurer and the chair or somebody in authority needs to be asking some questions, because this is the second year. We're in the middle of the year and still haven't gotten it.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's unacceptable. I mean, it sounds like, Joy, this is something that, you're really passionate about, and I appreciate you raising it, because you're right, it is concerning, and it kind of ties our hands and limits our ability to, do some of our duties as volunteers in this position. So, I mean, I would, you know, I would welcome it if you enjoy wanting to work on this, or we can bring it up. But in the interest of time, I think that we
Oh
should.
yeah, I'm done. I'm
No,
done.
yeah, I think in the interest of time, we should move along. But let's definitely maybe talk about this at the committee level, um, and see what tools are available in the toolbox to address. We do have a comment in the chat. I just wanted to raise it from Sharon Johnson. She's asking, is there a reason why certain commissioners are off camera? I'll speak candidly. I was heating up my dinner. And I didn't want to eat it on camera to be rude. So let's go over to the agenda. And we have official city comments are next. Do we have someone from Denise Lewis George's office that would like to give us any updates? Okay, hearing none. Do we have someone from Mokers, Derek, and or Proxy? Is someone available to provide us with some updates and along with questions and answers at the end?
Yes, I'm here. Give me 1 second. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no, take your time. You have the floor.
Thank you. I really appreciate you all giving me the opportunity to speak before you and bring you some updates from the mayor's office. And so I wanted to start just by saying happy summer. I think the last time I saw you wasn't quite summer and I missed the last meeting. So my apologies there as well. Wanted to just offer a moment just to highlight DC's National John Lewis Day of Commemoration. There was also a vigil held at the Wilson Building earlier today, but that's just highlighting the monument to the man and getting in good trouble. So today is DC's National Good Trouble Day. So I really respect Commissioner Pickney for speaking truth to power there. And likewise, I want to just say congratulations to Chief Pamela Smith. Today is her 1 year anniversary at MPD since she was appointed by the mayor. And we know that over the last few 12 months, we've seen legislation from Act Now to Safer Stronger be implemented. And we've also seen some of the tides changing with respect to crime. And so I want to talk about that as well. Year-to-date, assault with dangerous weapons and homicides committed with gunfire has gone down in our priority communities by 41%. So this time last year, there were 121 homicides and assaults with dangerous weapons, and now we're at 71. So that's a testament to the hard work of the community, the steadfastness and commitment the mayor has to improving the public safety ecosystem. And that includes standing up the real-time command center, which we've seen and noted that they just started a pilot program using drones. And we also have seen that the mayor has set up hubs, one in Anacostia, one in Chinatown, which are sites for persons to come to and engage with public resources and access those public resources in community. And so based on that, we also saw over this past 4th of July that the Deputy Mayor for Public Safety and Justice deployed over 200 people for our GO teams at 24 sites across the district. And we reported no incidents from those programmings. And so that was also good efforts to be in the community. And so we see a change in the tide. And I really just want to take a moment to say congratulations to Chief Smith and continue the efforts around our public safety, because it's a big part of communications and I've had with ANC 4D specifically, but Ward 4 in total. So congratulations there. Likewise, I wanted to mention that through Sunday, August 25th, DC Youth Meals Program will provide youth 18 and younger access to no-cost meals at over 100 sites across the city. No IDs required. And residents can find meal sites by going to osse.dc.gov/DC Youth Meals, and that's DC Youth Meals. So the program runs through Sunday, August 25th. Likewise, another program opportunity that we've seen recently was last Friday at Emory Heights, DPR hosted Late Night Hype. And this coming Friday, DPR is going to host another Late Night Hype at Turkey Thicket, which isn't too far from us here in Ward 4. And so Late Night Hype and Beat the Streets are teaming up for an epic night of carnival-style event featuring MPD side-by-side band. There'll be food, video games, sports activities, and more. And so you can just Google Late Night Hype DC and go to their Splash Stat page. Lastly, not lastly, I'm sorry. I also want to mention that we've been experiencing extreme heat, and what we know about heat is that it could create physical health effects, but there's also mental and psychological health effects that come along with heat as well. So the Department of Behavioral Health wants to get out messaging regarding extreme heat and knowing the signs of heat-related illness for both physical and mental. Extreme heat is linked to increased irritability, depression, anxiety, and aggression. The risk is even higher for those facing mental illness and or drug or alcohol misuse. Certain types of medications for mental health disorders can affect the body, and as well as alcohol can affect the body. And heat-related injuries and death are 2 to 3 times higher for those misusing substances. And so if you know of anyone who's experiencing a heat-related emergency, you can call 911 for immediate help, but you can also call our mental health line at 888-793-4357. And you can also call 311 so that you could access the DC cooling shelters, which there are several sites across the city for persons in need of cooling. There's a hotline. You can just call 311 and they will send someone to pick you up. Lastly, I want to note that tonight is rain. There's forecast storms throughout the night. And so what we know is that sometimes we do have outages. And so PEPCO asks that if you do have an outage, you can report that outage by texting the word out, O-U-T, to 48710. And you can also sign up to enroll in their text update alerts by texting ADD, outage, O-U-T-A-G-E, and you can text that to 48710, and they'll enroll you in their text update program. And so that is the last, very last thing, I'm sorry, is the City Open is coming. As we know, it's our annual event that happens in Ward 4 in the Carter Barron area, which isn't too far off from ANC 4D. And so the Mubadala City Open will be held from July 27th through August 4th. And the mayor's office, as well as City Open officials, are planning street closures. And with those street closures, we'll be handing out passes to affected homes, parking passes, that is, so that they won't disrupt the ability for residents to park in the area. However, if anyone in ANC 4D might be affected because they have a business over there, we'll be handing out business passes as well. And so if you need any further information, you can feel free to contact me at Derek, D-E-R-E-K .Johnson, Johnsson, at dc.gov. And I'll drop my information into the chat as well. But I'll stop here and welcome any questions any commissioners and then residents might have. Thank you.
Got it. Yep. Yeah, Derek, thank you. I'll reserve my comments and questions for the end, but the first hand that I saw go up was Commissioner Corniotis, so I will pass the torch over to her.
Good evening, Derek. Hope you're having a great summer. I just have a couple questions / comments. One is I have a few constituents, including Alexa Burron, I don't mean to call you out, who are concerned, as well as I am, regarding the pretty frequent water advisories that we've received recently, the boiling advisories. And we're wondering, you know, we know that there's a public health effect potentially to those. And we're, you know, and Alexa, chime in. But we were wondering if there's, you know, a reason that this is happening, one, and are there measures being taken to decrease the risk of, you know, the water that we're drinking and so on and so forth? And Alexa,
sure, I
can. Yes.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much. And thanks for having me tonight. And thanks for adding this to the agenda, Cece. So, and Derek, thank you for joining. So I'm Alexa Burr. I live on Georgia Avenue near Georgia and Allison. And as Cece mentioned, we've had a number of water related issues, boil water advisories that we got for all of the district. We've also had 2 water main breaks in the past 3 weeks. So every single week we've had a type of water outage. This is, you know, especially, we were just talking about the extreme heat. This is a huge public safety issue for the elderly, for children. We, you know, and I'm just curious what the mayor is going to do or what we can do to prevent this from happening. I do want to say DC Water has been very responsive when there has been an issue, but I'd like to talk about what we can do to prevent these types of issues across the city going forward.
Yes, no, thank you for that. This is critically important because water is life. And so the one thing that I do know, in this most recent July 4th boil water advisory was actually what was lifted on the 4th was actually a precautionary boil water advisory, meaning that there was a potential that some of our water that goes to the Washington Aqueduct was deviating to another was deviated in such a way that the water quality standards weren't anticipated to be met. However, that wasn't the case, but they were testing. And so as a precautionary measure, I know that they instituted that last one. I do know that also some, like for instance, yesterday on Jefferson and 14th, between 14th and 13th, DC Water cut their water off. They were doing some work. So I think there's a combination of things happening. There are some water advisories going in, some of which are precautionary in order for them to do testing and figure out if there is potentially any effects that would be harmful for the community. But then also some of these projects that DC Water is doing in conjunction with a lot of other things going on with the streets, like the streets being dug up for lead pipes. And so I know that there is a great resource that I do have with Emmanuel Briggs, who is the lead engagement representative. So I think that this is a great opportunity for us to invite maybe Emmanuel Briggs to ANC 4D so that he can speak about it more from an expertise level, because I'm in the moment reading as well as giving what I know just based on empirical evidence from other neighborhoods and other ANCs. But I think it's a great conversation that we should investigate.
Yeah, that'd be great. And, the main issue and concern that I have is the water main breaks that continue to happen. So obviously there's an issue with the pipes and the infrastructure. And I know that there's, work being done to replace lead pipes, but for some reason this summer we've had more water main breaks and therefore shutting off water, which then forces us to go buy some. And there's only a certain amount of stores in this neighborhood. And certainly for the elderly, children, it's not as easy for them to get to that. So if it's an infrastructure issue, then I absolutely would love to discuss that with DC Water.
No, well, thank you.
Derek, if I may, I just wanted to add something because, as a 12-year veteran of local government, I'm involved with these things tangentially through my work. And so I know a little bit about, or I just wanted to note that, I've definitely noticed that there's been an uptick in some of these water issues. We had a water main break right in front of my house on the 700 block of Kennedy Street, and that was a mess. I will say that Mr. Briggs, I reported it after hours, and he responded at like 10 o'clock. So this guy is dedicated. I would love to have him speak here. In the instance of the last boil water advisory for the entire city, that's really a product of the reservoir being too low in that instance, and so there's really nothing the city can do to fill that reservoir. And so as a precautionary measure, as Derek stated, they will issue that advisory, because if the water gets too low, then it creates the right conditions in the petri dish, so to speak, for bacteria. I'll also say if there is a drop in pressure in the line, because the water has to be pressurized to keep bacteria out of it, if it drops below that mandated PSI, then they have to issue that boil water, because the bacteria can materialize very quickly. But it is concerning that these things are happening a lot. I do see a couple other hands raised. Cece, do you still have questions, or?
Yeah, just one question.
Okay, we'll go to Cece and then Commissioner Pinckney.
So last week, Jennifer and I were at the Dollar Tree on Georgia, and that store, when it opened, was lovely and very convenient. But I would say over the last 6 months or so, maybe longer, it's turned into basically relatively young people go in there, they steal, they walk out, and last week, one of the robbers or thieves started to attack, excuse me, one second. sorry. It started to assault the manager on site. In addition to, stealing, basically the whole store is torn up at this point. And I understand it's not the city's responsibility per se to provide security for these businesses, but we've seen the CVS close right across the street, where the CVS on Kennedy is about to close. This store will probably close in the relatively near future if something doesn't happen. So how are we as a city, as a 4D community, supposed to have these convenient type of businesses in place if, security isn't provided on some level? And, like Jennifer could have been really badly injured because she was relatively close to the assault. So I really want something to be done, whether it's through the mayor's office, through the council member's office, in combination. But I just feel like the priorities in some cases on other things that, for a lot of people may be important, may be top priorities, but I think public safety and crime should be a top priority. And I don't feel like it always is.
Well, and before I pass it to CC or to Commissioner Pinckney, CC, I mean, Derek was just talking about, that crime center with, all those cameras that they're monitoring 24/7. So, while I want to pass it over to Commissioner Pinckney, just as a reminder that, that was something that was shared with us in response to issues like the ones that you raised, which, tend to be sporadic and, hard to predict. So with that, Commissioner Pinckney.
Yes, good evening. Hi, Derek. Hey, Commissioner Abell just posted something in the chat that I think would really be beneficial on our website. And as we move forward, we can just add to the website, start a list of places where our residents can contact for certain types of issues that are happening, because you have some people who are homeowners who has many different issues from persons who rent. And there are a lot of questions of people who are renters, so that some people can kind of have a do-it-yourself type of situation, or at least start in that vein. And then, they can always call their A&C commissioner. I know it would benefit me to have like a listing of the places that people can call to get these issues, or to get to directly the people who are doing the work, like the young lady who's on the phone with us now about the water. But I really, liked reading his comment, and I'm hoping that the people on the call, in reference to the water and the water breaks and all, would take down or either screenshot his recommendation, and if we can get it on the website, because it's a lot of water main breaks around the city. And I know when I grew up in a home, it impacts you if you're in a home right in the pocketbook, if it's on your property, even though it's an issue that originates from the work that the city is doing. So, it's a lot of, gray areas. So, but I wish you well with that water main break. And plus, I know, because again, my SMD has more seniors than anything in it. And, to have one hot day, and lots of times they have air conditioners that can't jump them out of one hot day. One hot day, then the air conditioners are running and can't keep up. And then, oops, they're broken. So we also, if you talk to the mayor again, when you do, it would be really nice for her to put together a group of people who go to see these sick and shut-in seniors to make sure that they're okay, because they don't get out. They don't, come out. And it used to be that in the neighborhood we had churches, but even over here in my SMD, there's no church. Well, there is one now. but they don't have the manpower anymore because of what's going on. So that's it.
Well, I thank you for, were you finished?
Hello?
Yes, I can hear you now.
There a 4D meeting?
Yeah, we're happening.
Okay, because I've been sitting here waiting to get in for a while.
Okay, let me send you the invitation.
I'm so sorry. I just pulled her in.
Oh, wait a minute. Oh, you just let her in? Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, should I respond or wait?
Yeah, Derek, go ahead and respond while Commissioner
Okay.
on the phone.
Okay, I'm here. I apologize, everybody.
All right.
I thought I
No
put
problem.
myself on mute.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to address the issue with the sick and shut-in. There is DACL, so there's the Department of Aging and Community Living that does do outreach to our community seniors. So that's something that we can redouble our efforts. And if you know of anyone, you could recommend them to call DACL's hotline, because what they'll do is do an assessment, an individual assessment of each senior that calls in, and figure out holistically from meal plans as well as opportunities to engage with health as well as wellness opportunities. And also in your SMD or right down the street is Hattie Homes, which is a very popular. So I don't know that there's a reason that anyone needs to be sick and shut in and not have, especially in your SMD, because it's right down the street. There's opportunities to access different services, transportation. And so while they're not perfect, there are opportunities to engage, and we can see about making them as good as possible for people who need to access them. So I would say that first. And then with regard to the mentioning of resources, I do believe that exists in real time on the Janice Lewis George's website has a listing of every type of agency network contact that you might need for a service. So, and then also the Office of the ANC offers to all ANCs a point of contact for each agency, because I've seen the list. Like I have a list of contact, you all have a list as well. So that's really, if you know of a water issue, you contact the water person for ANCs, because what they have are representatives that are accountable to the ANC. Like I have a representative I would call would be accountable to Ward 4. There's a Ward 7 person like that for most of the agencies. And so there is a person assigned to ANCs to particularly handle, like DPW. I know particularly that they just had a new person join Ward 4, and our old person, Randy Thorpe, now works directly with ANCs. And so there's a list there that we find, and I can provide to you all as follow-up as well.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Thank you all.
Great, thanks, Commissioner Pinckney. Yeah, Derek, I do have a couple questions, and 2 questions and just 1 statement. It was originally 3 questions, but in the interest of time, I'll just make it a statement. So the first question is, with regard to the tennis event that's coming up, surely you all have coordinated with WMATA regarding any bus closures. There's talk of eliminating the E4, which is sort of an east-west backbone, a spine. And so, that has a lot of people concerned. So, if we could lessen the anxiety, that would be great. So thank you for that. The second question is, it would, you mentioned these cooling centers. It would be useful if you could direct folks, at least those that are on the call, to where they're at in Ward 4, if any, and where they can, because 311, but I mean, if we're all on our computers, it may be easier to just pull that up. So if there's access to that. And then the third and final thing would just be I just wanted to express my personal distaste and disappointment in the mayor's trip to the Masters with a developer who sits on the board in Chinatown on his private jet. So I don't like the optics of it. I know that she's made a statement, but me personally, I find it a little, it's disappointing, and we'll leave it at that. So if you could just let folks know where the cooling centers are in Ward 4 and where they can find more information, if there's like a website, that would be awesome. Thank you, sir.
Yes, I certainly will. I will drop it into the chat. Thank you all. I appreciate the time.
All right. Derek, have a good night.
Thank you.
All right. Next up, we We should be.
Barbara Rogers from the council member's office is on now if we want to go back.
Oh, great. Yeah, let's go back to item 7A, which is Ms. Rogers from JLG's office. Take it away.
Hey, can you all hear me?
We can. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry. I hopped on. I thought you all had July off and August off, but you all are so dedicated. You're here in July. So I really just have just a few updates. I heard Derek mention Hattie Homes. So we put that in our newsletter this week. We actually have been doing office hours at Hattie Homes. We do them every Wednesday from 1:30 to 2:30. And we will also be going to Fort Stevens, which has a very strong senior population there. So I think we're going to do 12 to 1 at Fort Stevens, and then 1:30 to 2:30 at Hattie Homes. And it is just a way for us to reach out to our seniors where they are. Again, just constituent service hours. We take that information back. We follow up with the senior, whether it be that week or we will follow up with them the following week. And I know, Commissioner Pinckney, I did get some applications for you that I need to drop off to you for seniors in your building that might want to join the Hattie Homes family. Let me see, just a few more updates. The council is currently on recess. Recess is from July 15th to September 15th. That just means that there will be no hearings. Our office is still open. We are still working. So please feel free to reach out to our office. Councilmember Lewis George has started doing her DCPS facility tours. I think her goal is to at least attend one in every other ward, but of course she will attend all of them in Ward 4. Let's see what else. Someone mentioned the WMATA changes that they're implementing in our ward, and the council member, we had a meeting on that, and actually the council member, I think, just posted the letter that she sent in to WMATA. Let me see what else. Honoring Ron Austin. I don't know if any of the commissioners here knew who Ron Austin was, but he was the chair for 4B for many, many years. He actually worked under Mayor Fenty. So the council finally approved the bill to officially designate North Capitol Avenue Triangle Park as Ron Austin Memorial Park. And so I think that ceremony will happen sometime over the summer. And then, of course, I know that Derek probably mentioned the city, the tennis DC Open. I know that the mayor's office is in charge of distributing the parking passes. However, if you need to reach out to our office, we worked very closely with Derek last year and assisted in delivering some of the passes. And of course, we're always happy to do whatever we can to support the residents. And then just finally, if you all don't get our newsletter, I will put that information in the chat. You can also get our newsletter by by text. And so I will put that information. That's all I have. I hope you all will enjoy at least August off. Get a month off here before you officially start back in September. And I would be remiss if I did not say that the council member of course, is encouraging our ANC commissioners to stay on and run again. So I am hoping that you all will stay on and run again. And I look forward to seeing you all back in September.
All right, thanks, Ms. Rogers. Commissioner Pinckney, did you want to have the floor?
Oh, I just wanted to respond to Ms. Barbara Walters. What? To Ms. Barbara Rogers. Thank you very much. I'm glad you didn't forget me, and I'll see you soon. I was really in the hospital last month, but I heard that you, your councilwoman and yourself, you all thanked me, and it's really a team's effort to do the work, but I appreciate that. Okay.
Thank you. We appreciate you as well.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Ms. Rogers. Is there anyone from the public that wants to address either of our, because I don't believe I asked officially if members from the public wanted to speak to Mokers, Derek, our mayor's of office of community relations rep. So if anyone from the public would like to offer up questions or comments, concerns regarding our last two city speakers, I'd invite you to do so now. If I hear none, then we'll move on to 7C, which is an update from DDOT. If that's the case, we're looking for Ann Welch, and she's going to talk about the Taylor Street Corridor project. So hearing none, I'm going to pass it over to Ms. Welch. Ms. Welch, you have the floor.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Commissioner. I appreciate it. I am Ann Welch. I am a transportation planner with DDOT, and I am here to talk to y'all about our Rock Creek Church, Harewood Road bikeway project. I have a quick presentation to share, and I'll be sure to send that PDF over to y'all for your minutes when we're done. And I think you'll have to allow
Just made you a co-host. So
okay, wonderful. Thank you for that. And here we go. Click yes. I apologize. Here we go. And start from the beginning. So,
all right, great. We can see it.
Here we go. Okay, wonderful. You are able to see it. Move everything out of the way so I can see it. Great. So like I mentioned, here to talk to you today from DDOT about the Rock Creek Church Road and Harewood Road bikeway. It is part of this larger east-west connection Taylor Street corridor. Because of the length of the corridor and kind of the different design challenges along the different parts of it, we've broken this large east-west corridor into two pieces. We are aiming to go to construction on the Taylor Street portion of it. So from North Capitol Street along Fort Drive onto Taylor Street all the way over to South Dakota in fiscal year 25. While we are anticipating construction for the Rock Creek Church side, and the Harewood Road corridor, which goes from New Hampshire all the way along Rock Creek Church and then east on Harewood Road all the way over to North Capitol Street in fiscal year of 26. So a couple of just important pieces to this project. We mentioned that, DDOT sees a need to build these safe east-west connections. So beyond that, we also want to provide additional connections within the wards 4 and 5. We have several schools located along this corridor, quite a number of them, as well as metro stops. We have our Met Branch Trail on the Taylor Street portion. And then there's a couple of concurrent projects that are happening that we want to make sure we're coordinating with. So our South Dakota Avenue Corridor Safety Project, and there's a North Capitol Street corridor study. So making sure at those two intersections, we are incorporating those projects into our concepts and design as well. So lots of connections to be made. So where we are in this project, so we recently sent a project notification letter to y'all's ANC, just letting you know that we are kicking off this project. We just started it. So thank you for inviting us here today to talk. We're in the needs assessment where we're doing our outreach to ANCs and community groups along the corridor. And you might have seen us out there. You might see us out there in the future. You might have seen us out there already doing staff site visits, so physically walking the corridor, making observations, as well as starting off our interagency coordination. The next step in this project will be getting into the concept planning phase, where we create proposed concepts, bring them to the ANCs, bring them to the community, solicit feedback. We'll be working on our environmental reviews, traffic analysis, and then continuing that ongoing engagement with the ANCs throughout this whole process. Once we get feedback on our comments, we'll move into the design phase and then on into construction. And again, we're shooting for a fiscal year of 26 for this portion of the corridor. So how did we decide to do this project? We did not just wake up and decide to come build a bikeway. This was first identified in our Move DC 2021 plan as a bicycle priority corridor. So that is our district-wide, our goal to create a district-wide network of safe, comfortable bike facilities for all ages and all abilities by 2044. This project will also help us accomplish our sustainable DC goals of increasing our commuter trips by biking and walking and reducing those automobile trips for our commuting, by making it a safer, more inviting place to want to actually bike and walk to go about your daily task. It'll also help us work towards our Vision Zero goals for DC by creating safe conditions through design. So we really want to use this project to help make it a safer place and bring down our crashes, particularly our fatal crashes and serious injuries. So moving from the Move DC plan into our work plan and into us starting this project, we also heard a lot from y'all that you wanted this. We've received several ANC requests that support the implementation of this project. We've received community request. So in February, we received a petition from our Taylor Street Neighbors group that had over 630 signatures of Ward 4 and 5 community members, and mostly a lot of parents of children who would love to be able to safely have their children walk in a bike to ride their bikes to schools that are all along this corridor. So as we mentioned, in this initial conditions phase, we've kicked off our agency coordination. This is something we'll be doing throughout this project. So we're working closely with Safe Routes to School to identify any additional safety treatments around schools along this corridor. We'll be working with the schools themselves to make sure that we fully understand their pickup drop-off needs, things of that nature, making sure they're a part of this process. We're also working closely with WMATA and Bus Priority so that we can plan for not just the existing bus routes that are along this corridor. I believe we have the H8 and the 60 that go up and down Rock Creek Church currently, but also we want to make sure that we're planning for the Better Bus network redesign that will be coming down the pipeline and coming in the future. We're working closely also with Capital Bike Share to identify make sure that, see if there are any additional potential cab station locations, that they're placed in the right place, or just to see if there's any opportunities for additional bike racks along the corridor. I know that they've already been working closely with some of the schools to try and get more bike racks placed outside of the schools themselves. We'll also be working on this portion, particularly with the old soldiers home. Sorry, it's a hard one to say quickly. You know, as coordinating with their agency, as we will be abutting this project, all of their property on Rock Creek and Harewood. So kind of our existing conditions, y'all are probably familiar. So I turned the map so it would fit on this slide. So just so you know, this is pointing up. Here we are at Harewood, and then here we are with Rock Creek Church. As we mentioned, there are a couple of existing bus routes that go along this portion, the H8, which will come up this way, and the 60 that starts at Upshur and goes north. And numerous bus stops along the route already. There is a lot of on-street parking up and down this corridor, so that you can see that marked on both sides of the street at the more southern portion, and then as we travel north, parking along the western side of the corridor. Most of the corridor is a 2-lane shared street where bicyclists, active transportation users, and drivers share the lanes, except for this portion here, starting at Park Place, going towards Upshur, where we do have that bike lane that is a climbing lane on the eastern portion. And then here, the green, you can see our existing protected bicycle network. So we have several protected bike network streets that flow into this, and you can see we'd be kind of filling that gap very nicely, going east-west amongst all of our north-south PBLs. So existing conditions, I know y'all are all familiar, but a couple of things that we have seen and that really stick out is that we do have some really narrow sidewalks. And again, those shared lanes, which are not ideal for ultimate active transportation user safety, bicyclist safety. We have numerous speed tables along the corridor already to try and slow down that traffic. We have our parking lane along the western portion. As you can see, in some portions, especially that northern portion of the corridor, it gets very narrow with lots of obstacles. So it'd be really hard to push strollers along this side of the street. You know, if you use ambulatory devices, things of that nature, it's not great. Harewood over here is a one-way road with 2 shared lanes of travel currently. I know they just did some work on the sidewalk on the northern portion. We have a 6-foot sidewalk over there. Here we have someone riding their scooter down the shared lane. And then kind of towards that southern portion of Rock Creek Church, you know, we're still seeing the speed humps and speed tables. We see a lot of our bus loading zones. Again, the shared lane on the western side, and our climbing bicycle lane over here on the eastern side. And then here in this portion of Rock Creek, we do have a lot more potential right-of-way. And so you can see here we have potentially some potential for a trail, barring, you know, making sure that we do have that right away, that's something we may potentially look into. But a lot more room for expansion of this sidewalk over here versus in the northern portion where there's really, the wall is right there. So I mentioned in this portion, one thing that we are starting to look at is we are kind of looking at our existing conditions and moving into that beginning phase of concept planning is the potential for expanding that existing sidewalk between Park Place and Upshur Street. And you can see here, so that would help us be able to preserve some parking, still have our lanes of travel, potentially have a sidewalk or bus loading, and then a multi-use trail over here. Our existing conditions are just, as I mentioned, that unprotected climbing lane on the east side of the street, and then our shared lane on the other side. So that would kind of give a little potential separation. We'd love to hear your thoughts. If y'all have any opinions, we're just sharing that to hear back from y'all. So again, I mentioned we're working on our needs assessment, wrapping that up. Moving on into the concept planning phase, which is our next step to really get these concepts defined that address the needs and safety issues that we identify ourselves, that we identify through listening to the community, et cetera. And then we'll obviously bring that back to the ANCs and share that with y'all again for feedback before we get moving into our actual design phases. And so that is all I have to share with you today. Here is my contact information. I'd love to hear from you. If you have any thoughts, here's my email, and I will be sure to share these slides with y'all, and I will turn it back over to you. Thank you so much for inviting me to talk today.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Welch. Before I open up the floor to commissioner discussion and subsequently community comments, I just want to remind folks that to please keep the tenor of tonight's discussion respectful, whether it's in the chat, whether it is on camera, on audio, or a combination of both, because at the end of the day, that's just the right thing to do. So with that, I think the first hand that I saw go up was Commissioner George. So we'll start with Commissioner George, followed by Commissioner Bell, followed by Commissioner Morenzik.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for presenting. It's really helpful to get a sense of how you all are thinking about this project. Just to clarify for the community, this project only touches 4D at like one corner. The majority of it is outside of our commission area, but we were happy to chime in with some support with a resolution that Commissioner Morenzik and I passed a few months ago. One thing I wanted to ask is whether you have had an opportunity to review that resolution. In it, we pointed out a lot of problems with pedestrian infrastructure in the part of that project that is in our commission area, kind of on the northern part of Rock Creek Church Road. There's like a crosswalk and a walk signal that aren't in the same place. There are a lot of opportunities to, I think, fill in sidewalk gaps, although I know kind of the rights of way get complicated up there. I just wanted to know if that would be kind of in scope for the project, and whether, some of that could potentially start to happen even earlier than like the roadway treatments, which I know may take a little bit longer.
Yeah, we have been working. When we were out on our site visit, we had the sidewalk gap team come and walk the corridor with us. And they are particularly interested in the portion where kind of, as you mentioned, where this ends on Rock Creek Church and goes further north. I know that's a major sidewalk gap program. So we have brought that to their attention already. But I'd be happy to give y'all's resolution a secondary look and just make sure that anything we hadn't already discussed with them that's in there gets flagged for sure.
That would be great. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Commissioner Bell has the floor.
Thank you. I want to thank you for taking on this project. I'm new to biking, but it's something that I started doing when I through the Capital Bike Share program, which is for free for people who have who are in the low income, and I'm a SNAP beneficiary. So I realized that I can get that, and I started riding. It has been life-changing. It has made me more mobile. It has, as someone who doesn't have the resources to purchase a vehicle, it has been a very inexpensive way for me to travel and get to places. So, in particular, but since then, I was going east-west has been very difficult in in the district. And so I'm really encouraged by the fact that you're doing this. Um, you know, soon after I started riding my bike, I was actually involved in an accident. A car door opened. I crashed into it. I suffered a skull fracture that was an injury for several. That's that affected me for a while. Um, I mention this because the nearness to parked vehicles is something that you seem to be addressing, and I wanted to encourage that. I want to encourage you to have that separation for where the parked cars are, to where bike lanes will be, in that particular. And I want to encourage more east-west routes like you have here, and generally encourage you in having these safe biking lanes. Even though I was injured, I know having these types of infrastructure, built infrastructure, is really what we need, because where I was riding when this occurred was an area that does not have these sorts of trails and bike lanes. So for all these reasons, I'm really encouraged by the fact that you're doing this, and thank you so much. And you have my full support, and I would love to see more stages in the development of the design. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I'm so sorry to hear that you had that crash and on our roadways. And I think that just speaks to the importance of that buffered, making sure we do have those buffers, making sure we can provide separation where we can. So glad to be able to look into doing more of this with this project.
Specifically, it was the car door opening. So a parked car door opening. So I just wanted to,
Yeah.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner Bell. Next up is Commissioner Morenzig with his camera on.
Yes, well, I have two screaming children here, so and they like to pretend that they're superstars on camera. Anyways, yes, I bike one of those screaming children, actually both of them, along this corridor every day to and from school. So it is a critical need. I've posted about it on Twitter ad nauseum. So it's extremely important. I'd love to see it done as safely and as soon as possible. And I've also been hit by open car doors a number of times, so I feel my fellow commissioners' pain. But I just want to stress again the importance of this. Real families use this corridor every day, and it's just absolutely needs to get done. So thank you.
Okay. I'm going to reserve mine for the end. Do we have anyone in the chat? If you'd like to address Ms. Welch, either with a question, a comment, what have you, now would be the time to do it, and you can do so by raising your hand. You could also drop something in the chat. So I'll give folks a few seconds. Otherwise, I will tee off, or I will, close the loop on this one, and we can move on to the next item. So hearing none, Ms. Welch, thank you for this presentation. I'm obviously supportive of it as well, as someone that uses, essentially all modes of travel. I drive occasionally, I ride a bike, I walk, I use Metro. And, I just wanted to point out, because coincidentally, I am a transportation planner across the river, so I feel like I'm in good company here tonight in this presentation, hearing about, the exact types of things that I work on in Virginia. And, I do want to underscore a couple of points that both Commissioners Morenzig and Abel made. I as well have been run over by a car here in Washington, D.C. It's not fun. It's not pretty. The older you get, the longer it takes to heal. And so, I would also stress that you all strongly explore and consider the options that will make this the most comfortable and safe, for all roadway users. The gold standard is what we called it in Houston. And, I say that because, we have about 4.3% of all people in DC commute on a bike, and that's, 33,000. But, we want to attract more, we want to give the option. We want to make it attractive for folks who are cautious but interested in riding. And they're cautious because of the reasons that that all of us and others have stated, which is that it's often not safe. And so we're certainly not going to force anyone to do it. And, you know, I was doing some back of the napkin sketches while you were going through those slides. I mean, you know, portions of the right of way do look very constrained. And so, you know, you'll have to get creative because you can't make up space that doesn't exist. But, you know, just looking at a 40-foot pavement section, you know, you could easily maintain 1 lane of parking, 2 10-foot travel lanes, and then you have 13 feet left over for a cycle track that would have a buffer if it's up against that curb. And so, you know, I know that you all follow NACTO and MUTCD and AASHTO, and so I would encourage you to look at all the tools that are in those toolboxes, because we cannot have another year where we double the number on these streets. Joy, I see your hand. And so, you know, the people that use bikes are not, you know, it's the majority of people that commute on a bike are sorry. There's a statistic that really stood out to me, and it's that people in the lowest socioeconomic strata are more likely to ride bikes, and they're more likely to live in neighborhoods where there's less equitable access to safe and comfortable transportation options. And if you look at DC's crash dashboard, you know, one of the things you'll see is that Ward 4 is overrepresented, same with portions east of the river, traffic fatalities, serious injuries, death, dismemberment, you name it. And so these are all preventable. It's about how we use our streets. They were once entirely just for folks that were walking before cars existed. We converted a lot of them for multi-uses. And so, you know, now it's just about making it equitable and saying that it's not that you can't drive, it's just that we're all going to have to share this space, and we're going to get from A to B without being, you know, seriously injured or, you know, worse. Commissioner Pinckney. So anyways, I support this project. Thank you. I hope you can come back to us with more details, but again, yeah, just, you know, go big, go bold. This is DC. This is the nation's capital. We should be setting the standard. So thank you very much. And I pass the baton rather to Commissioner Pinckney.
Thank you, Chairman. I just raised to say that I am for sharing the roadways equally with everyone. But my concern, because I've always had a car till now, you know, all my life I've had my own car. Fortunately, there's Metro Access now that helps me, okay? But what I see, even in conversations like this, it appears because of the rhetoric that is anti-cars, anti-driving, versus we want to make this a sharing space, okay? When we talk about people getting hit by car doors, of course, not on purpose, but of course, because you're in a city that never had people from rural places to be riding around on bikes. It's not intentional, but it's just not expected. You all have moved to a city that is a car driving, riding city, okay? And it seems that all of the conversation is undertoned with hate. I hear it because I am a driver. Okay, now, I believe because also most bike riders on the road are very rude, and when they're driving on the road with passengers, they're very entitled. They drive through the lights. They don't stop at stop signs. Now the council said, oh, they don't have to. But each sign on the road is there because it used to be a problem. Now, the chairman said that cars weren't always here. But once cars got here, they were here. Cars were the thing you needed. They said, oh, you're doing something in your life or whatever. There are different times in history. What I don't want this to turn into, I don't want your plans to do something good to just keep sending the wrong message. Okay, now I will go on record to say any and everybody that needs to be on the street during rush hour, let's just start with rush hour. Every vehicle, 2 wheels, 3 wheels, or 4, needs to be licensed, or they need to be taking a test that demonstrates that they know the rules of the road. Because if you're going to be on the road with other people who have to pay to be on the road and for the privilege, so should bike riders. Okay, also, how is it that a bike rider who has their children on the back of a bike has no penalty, but if a parent puts a child in the front seat, they get a penalty? What's the difference?
Joy,
okay, no.
Just
but what I'm saying to her, what I'm saying to her is, no, what I'm saying to her is that as you go through these things, understand that we're now joining forces with persons who choose to drive bikes. I understand. I like driving a bike too. But somehow we have to meet in the middle. And it's not one or the other. But it has to be some respect gained on both sides. Because some people, I'm sorry, buses don't run all the way after a certain time of night. Riders don't bike after a certain time of night. Okay. And things are being taken from car drivers, including their money, because the price keeps going up and up on parking a car. So when you all are talking in your thing about car riders, then I'm just saying, putting that out there so that maybe you can think about it, consider it, because the conversation is going in one ear and out the other, because we still haven't come to a place, bikers and car riders, where we're actually talking and negotiating with each other. And that's what we need. And then you'll have less and less people hitting them with the spare door, because they will naturally start looking and paying attention. And then I'm through.
All right, Joy, thank you for that. I'll just add that, I'm going to close this up here and then we're going to move on. But, I will say thank you for sharing those opinions, and that, if we want to prevent more doorings, then let's give folks that are using a bike or two wheels a safe place to do it, where they're not in the road competing for the same space. And so that's what this project is driving at. I thank Ms. Welch for coming and speaking to us. Joy, if you ever want to go for a bike ride sometime, I'm being genuine, let's go do it. I'll show you. I'd love to show you and anyone else who wants to come along, what it really means to ride.
Well, first of all, I can't with my legs right now, but I really didn't need you to back up what I said to her. I meant what I said, and I hear what you're saying. You don't need to add on for me or apologize in any way. Okay? Okay.
All right. Thank you. All right. Thank you, Ms. Welch. We're going to move on now to committee updates. And Ms. Pinckney, you have the floor to tell us about Kennedy Street Library.
Yes, good evening, everyone. We have gotten the news that instead of the $5 million for getting or starting the library or finding a spot for it, that's been down to $2 million. However, it's still not a definite. So we're just going to move on with encouraging the library director with sending the baseline requirements so that the RFP can be disseminated from the baseline, and until we get the word that something else has changed. And again, if anybody wants to work on the library task force, please contact me. And my information is on the website, or you can contact me at 4D01@anc.dc.gov. Thank you.
All right, thanks for that update, Ms. Pinckney, and thank you for your commitment to this matter, in bringing something that's sorely needed to our neighborhood. So next up is item 9, and that's commissioner announcements. So We'll go from the top here. I'll start with, once again, Ms. Pinckney, you have the floor.
Yes, hi. Just quickly, as I shared with my fellow commissioners, I'll be focusing on some issues that pertain to the seniors in my SMD, because there are lots of us in this SMD, by opening up and, first of all, getting many of my seniors to apply to Hattie Homes and several other resources for senior citizens. There are lots of things out there, and I hope to meet my senior neighbors and any other ones of my neighbors in the near future.
Oh, great. Thank you for that, Joy. Next up, we have Commissioner Bell. You have the floor.
Thank you. I will just quickly update. Last week, this week, it was 2 weeks ago. We did a walkthrough with Councilmember Louis George, along with DPW and DDOT, for a variety of issues that I wanted to highlight for the neighborhood. I'm gonna follow up on that. It's mostly having to do with alley cleaning and issues with roadway safety. I also wanted to point out, that's the end of my announcements, but quickly, just to Commissioner Lucarelli, we had an item on the agenda, legal aid counsel for the elderly, and I believe some of them are here. After we do commissioner announcements, before we get to new business, which might be a while, can we go back and address and allow the legal aid counsel for the elderly to speak?
Yeah, no, by all means. But thank you for bringing that up. I apologize that we didn't make note of that on the document. So as soon as we're done with commissioner announcements, the folks at Legal Aid will have the floor. Thanks, Abel. Okay.
Thank you, Abel.
All right, next up is me. I don't have any announcements at the moment, so we'll go on to Commissioner Corniotis at 4003. CC, you have the floor. Commissioner Corniotis, you have the floor. All right, CC must have stepped away, so we'll go to Commissioner Stephen Marenzek, 4005.
Hello. I don't have any further announcements, but I do want to quote Office of the People's Counsel for DC Water again. I do work for them, so I can attest to their pure, satisfactory performance. And sorry for the little devil screaming.
All right, thanks, Stephen. Next up, we have Commissioner George. Any updates for 4006?
No further announcements for me.
All right, thanks, Amon. All right, I see a message in the chat. I'll get to that. I don't believe Clark is here. Commissioner Weigel, 4007. Did he join late?
I don't believe so.
Yeah, and Chair Parati is absent. So I will go on to read an announcement from Uptown Main Street, and then we'll pass the torch over to Legal's Counsel to hear about elder law. So Uptown Main Street is saying, just to let folks know that tonight until 9 p.m. they're having jazz on my block, 700 block. I'd encourage folks, if you live by, to go and check it out after this meeting. So let's try to wrap up and get some good tunes. With that, let's move on now to People's Counsel. Thanks.
Legal Counsel.
Hello, Legal Counsel.
I'm sorry, Legal Counsel, sorry.
Hi, yes, hello, this is Carla. Let me turn my camera on.
Hi, Carla.
Hello, how are you?
This is Commissioner Pinckney, and you all agreed to come here to speak to us. Your colleague came to my building and shared with us the tenant advocacy piece, which you'll, of course, touch on here. So you have the floor. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, my name is Carla Rodriguez, and I'm one of the legal administrative associates with Legal Counsel for the Elderly. I do have two other colleagues on the call as well, Kyle Rush and Carrie Diggins. We are going to give you a quick presentation for the services that Legal Counsel for the Elderly offers here in the district. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we will go off of the PowerPoint presentation that we have. So bear with me one moment. If I am allowed to share, it does say the host needs to grant me permission.
You should now have permission.
Okay. 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 All right. Now, can you see my PowerPoint slideshow? I'm not able to see if you can see or not since I minimized my meeting screen.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Perfect. All right. One moment. All right, so we're here at Legal Counsel for the Elderly, and we are here in the district. We are located down here in downtown. Let's see here. So, and you said you can see the PowerPoint? There we go. All right, so Legal Counsel for the Elderly's mission is to champion the dignity and the rights of our Washington, D.C. elderly individuals by providing free legal and social work services to those in need, empowering, defending, protecting vulnerable seniors. And our goal is to provide equal access to justice for those who otherwise cannot afford it here in the district. We represent our elderly individuals here who live in the district who have low income. Okay, we do service our elderly individuals are 60 and older. If it's for a matter of Social Security disability benefits or or SSI, then we do have an exception for the 55 and older community. And for most of Legal Counsel for the Elderly practice areas, clients must meet the income and the assets below a certain criteria amount. However, there is no income or asset limit if they call our hotline or if they need services from our self-help offices. Our self-help offices are located around DC, and we do have a legal associate that whereby appointment you can talk to the legal associate and discuss brief services with that associate. Again, you do not need to meet the income requirements for our self-help office or to reach our hotline. And you also do not need to be an AARP member in order to receive services from Legal Counsel for the Elderly. So again, if anyone were to ask, you do not have to be an AARP member. And then here are some pictures from some of our clients in the district that we have serviced. We do take pictures of some of our clients with their consent and their permission. So here are just a few pictures of some of the individuals that we have serviced. More than 90% of our clients are people of color, and about 3 out of 4 of our clients are women. And some of the different ways where we get our clients is through referrals from some of our partners in the community, word of mouth from individuals like you, from community outreach, paid advertising. We do get referrals from the courts and even, a meeting and an outreach like today. You can, word of mouth. If you know somebody that may need some help or need some assistance, you can definitely provide them with our information. And at the end, we will provide you with our hotline number, and you can refer them over to Legal Counsel for the Elderly. As long as they live in the district, they are 60 years of age. For Social Security disability or a regular Social Security, 55 and up. So if you know anyone, definitely refer them over to Legal Counsel. Then we have a couple more slides that we're going to go through. I'm going to introduce to you Kyle Rush. He's one of our staff attorneys on our tenant advocacy and support practice group. And so Kyle will go through the next couple slides.
Perfect. Thank you very much. So we have 4 different areas that you can divide our work into. Primarily, it's housing, economic security, self-determination, and health and safety. So I'm going to give a little bit of information about each of those. So the first of those areas is housing. So this is our most essential area. For renters, we fight alongside older adults to make sure that the efforts of so that we make sure that landlords give the most resources they can to their tenants and help keep people with their housing vouchers, make sure that the conditions of their apartment are as safe as possible and livable. And we include defense if you're facing eviction. We offer social work assistance and support, and then we secure adequate housing conditions for individuals in the district. For homeowners, we help them fight foreclosures and maintain the value of what's often their most valuable asset, their home. We also support older adults who have fallen victim to scams or contractors. With regard to economic security, we try to make sure that we put more money in people's pockets. That's one of our biggest things. And we do that in a variety of ways. We do what's called a public benefits checkup, which means that our attorneys look through your finance information and make sure that you're receiving all of the public benefits you're entitled to. We help people apply for some benefits such as Social Security Disability, Medicaid, and SNAP, the food stamps program. We also work with veterans and their surviving spouses to make sure they get their proper veteran benefits or survivor benefits. We help people apply for tax credits, such as the Schedule H program, which provides financial relief for seniors that are paying a significant portion of their income on property tax, and that does work for renters as well as homeowners. And LCE's Senior Medicare Patrol educates older adults about how to recognize and avoid Medicare fraud and abuse. Thirdly, self-determination. So we believe that people deserve the right to make their own decisions about their health and their finance. So to do that, we help older adults by creating life planning documents such as wills, power of attorneys, living wills, and transfer on death deeds. These allow seniors to be able to make the decision about their future and to ensure that they are carried out the way that they want beyond their time. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to Carrie to round us out on this here.
Thank you very much. I am Carrie Diggin. I am one of the attorneys in the consumer unit, and we're going to now talk about issues related to health and safety. Older adults sometimes face challenges obtaining the health care that they're legally entitled to. So for people who are living in long-term care facilities, our Office of the Long-Term Care Ombudsman is the advocate for people in nursing homes. So residents of long-term care can call us when they're facing any challenges related to their care. Challenges sometimes include medication issues, the quality of food, or involuntary discharges from the facilities. Now, for the people who live at home, we advocate for in-home health services through Medicaid's waiver program. The waiver program is called the EPD waiver, which means elderly and persons with physical disabilities. The EPD waiver allows DC residents who would otherwise require nursing home care to receive services and supports while living in their own home or in an assisted living community. We also provide legal house calls to the homes of people who are unable to come to us to ensure that their disabilities are not a barrier to their receiving legal representation. So how to get in touch with us. So when someone contacts legal counsel for the elderly with a question or a legal issue, the first step is for an intake specialist to gather information like the person's name, their address, a description of the legal issue, and the name of any other parties involved. The reason we ask for other parties involved is to make sure that there are no conflicts. A conflict happens when if helping one client could hurt another current or former legal counsel for the elderly client. For example, let's just say someone calls us because their neighbor's too loud and the caller wants them evicted. If we previously represented the neighbor that's too loud, we may be conflicted out, especially if we help them with a housing case. So once the intake process is complete, the caller will be scheduled for an appointment with a hotline attorney within 2 business days. If a caller has an emergency case, like say, for example, their landlord is illegally locking them out, then they can speak to a hotline attorney on that same day. Now, it's important to know that we have a limited number of appointment slots. Once the hotline attorney slots are filled for the next 2 business days, we do have to close intake, except for emergency cases. So what the hotline does is the hotline provides limited scope legal services on the phone, such as legal information, advice, and very importantly, referrals. So if someone needs more help, the hotline attorney will offer referrals to resources that can hopefully provide the best level of help needed. When possible, the hotline attorney will refer a case to one of the other practice areas within legal counsel for the elderly. Those attorneys will then determine whether or not they can represent that person. Now, unfortunately, we can't accept every case for representation. Whether legal counsel for the elderly can accept a case or not depends on a number of things, including financial eligibility, the attorney caseload, the type of legal matter, and other acceptance criteria that update from time to time. A case may also be declined if we determine that it does not have merit. We will try to connect a person with other sources and resources outside of LCE when possible. You know, the thing that I want most for all of you to remember from this presentation is if you or a senior has a legal issue or just an issue that involves a senior, it's important to call us for a safe referral. Legal counsel for the elderly has been doing this for 50 years, just about 50 years. So if there is a concern, you can call us and we will get you that safe referral. Now on the screen are the phone numbers for our legal hotline at 202-434-2120. The Ombudsman, that's the organization that advocates for those in long-term care facilities or have home health aides. That number is 202-434-2190. And then our office also has a senior Medicare patrol. And what they do is help people understand their Medicare statements and answer questions about Medicare statements. And that telephone number is 202-434-2099. That is our presentation. The 3 of us are going to stay on, see if there are any questions.
All right, great. Yeah, thank you to all of you from Legal Counsel for the Elderly for coming and talking about this topic. It's obviously very important. I've had members of my family who were exploited in their later age. And, you know, as Commissioner Pinckney mentioned, you know, we have a lot of seniors that live in place here in 4D. And so, you know, thank you for coming and speaking. If you could just drop those numbers in the chat, that would be really helpful. And at this point, I'd open up the floor to any questions or comments. As noted previously, I'll reserve mine for the end. I do have one question for y'all. Thanks. All right, so the first hand I see raised is Commissioner Bell. You have the floor.
Yeah, in particular, I'm interested in the housing side of your work. Could you describe again, if it's a repetition, I'm sorry, the intake process for, let's say I have a senior who's facing eviction, what would be the steps? Not only what I would need to advise them to call or contact you, but what would be the later steps? I just want to understand how the intake process works.
So I can answer that about the intake process, although Kyle does specialize in the housing question with landlord tenant. So if there is a senior with an issue, all they need to do is call our office at 434-2120. And the person answering the phone, they've been doing this for a long time, they'll know to ask the questions. And the person calling, or if you're calling on someone else's behalf, will provide the basic information so we can take down to understand who the person is and what the issue is. And then if it's an emergency, it'll immediately go to a hotline attorney. There's an attorney of the day. And then from that point, the hotline attorneys will just determine the next step.
Great, thank you, Ms. Diggin. We do have a question in the chat from Quinn Daniels. He wants to know if you all can prepare a power of an attorney.
Yeah, I can answer that. We do prepare powers of attorney. They can just reach out to the hotline number, and then once they take their information, that is how they would know which attorney could be placed to possibly assist with powers of attorneys. So if it's a client who needs assistance with that and they're able to come into our office, they would be assigned to a specific attorney. We do have also an attorney that does go out to their homes if they are homebound, if they are in a facility or an assisted living facility. We do have an attorney that can go out to them as well.
And I just want to add for that, for DC residents who are homeowners, there is a document called a transfer on death deed. And what that is a very simple document that you can get at the Recorder of Deeds, or for eligible clients, we help them. And what it's a simple statement that says, when I die, my house will go to this person. And that document gets filed at the Recorder of Deeds, and it could negate the need for a home to go to probate. So those are documents we tend to do together, power of attorney documents, wills, and transfer on death deeds for those with homes. And it's also important, very important, that for people who want a power of attorney, that they go to an attorney in DC that does it, because in DC there's special language for homeowners that has to be at the top of every power of attorney document, where it has to be in bold letters and capitalized. So if someone just pulls off a random power of attorney document off the internet, it won't help them with something important like their house and the transfer of their house.
All right, well, that sounds important. Thank you. We have a question for LCE from Kathy Elliott, and she wants to know, what are the ranges of income which are necessary to qualify for your services? Is that something either?
So I can't speak directly to the exact number for full legal representation, but the hotline is available for anyone who wants to call regardless of income. And they can either give brief advice if you're above our income threshold, or calculate the income to see if you're able to, for an attorney representation further. I don't know if Carrie or Carla knows the specific.
I was just going to say that the hesitancy to give like lock in a number is that, as Kyle said, anyone who lives in DC and over 60 can call our hotline attorneys. And then from that point, they can be sent to a proper referral if it's outside of our office. We have a reduced fee panel who can help out with seniors who are above our threshold, but still can't afford a full price attorney. There's a great reduced fee panel. We've had them on for years. And, there are certain circumstances where we still will help someone even if they're over our income guidelines. So we just want to make sure that people call us and not worry so much of will we qualify. The important thing is we can send you like on a safe path, because so many seniors and people, of any age, will take bad advice from someone, or have someone who knows they're vulnerable and take advantage of them. We don't want just kind of asking strangers for help. Call our office and get a safe referral.
All right. Thank you, Carrie. I'll give folks one more opportunity to raise hands. We have, okay, Joan. Okay. Yeah. So one more opportunity to raise hands. If you want to address the speakers. We have one more question in the chat from Joan Turner, and she would like you to please state again the office where you will obtain the transfer on death paperwork. Thank you.
The Recorder of Deeds in DC, that's where it gets filed. And I believe they probably have that form there as well. But when we help our clients and we do all of their life planning documents, we do also want to explain to them what it is, because there's a lot that goes into life planning. But it's the Recorder of Deeds where ultimately it gets filed. And something that people are sometimes worried about is if you choose and you change your mind, you can change your mind at any point. You're not locked in to your decision about who would get your house. You're not, even though it's recorded at the Recorder of Deeds, you're not locked into who your power of attorney is. You can change all that as necessary. But they're very important documents to put together, because you want to make sure that you are the one who's controlling what happens to you and your belongings, and you don't want to get the court involved to have to do a guardianship or conservatorship over your person and your finances.
All right, great. Thank you, Carrie. Commissioner Pinckney, you have the floor.
Yes, I just wanted to say hello again, and thank you so much. The three of you have given so much information, more information than we got when your counterpart was here. And I really need to talk to you guys about maybe a front and back something that I can give to people that has the pertinent information for them to call. I need to do a flyer or something so that people can put it in their hands with information, at least to contact you, what it is that all the departments do, etc. So I'll talk to you guys later about that. And if it's okay for me to pull on you guys again, maybe toward the end of the year, because usually the end of the year you got lots more people who are in need because of, so just a thank you.
And I can follow up with the person who helped coordinate us to be here to make sure that we address that for both those issues.
Okay, thank you.
Of course.
All right, thanks, Joy. All right, yeah, so unless I see any other hands, we'll move on to the next item. But I did just want to ask y'all, for obvious reasons, and an issue that's close to us. Ironically, we have an age-restricted multifamily building here in 4D. Coincidentally, a commissioner happens to live there, but there have been some serious issues there, and so it's a reminder of why y'all's services are really important. And so it led me to to this question, which is, maybe generally speaking, what sort of issues are you seeing seniors in DC, faced with presently, and sort of how has that changed over, over the course of the years? Obviously with technology being more prolific and with all of us having at least one of these things in our pocket, it puts a lot of folks in a state of vulnerability because of, hacking and phishing scams and text messages that are malicious, things like that lead to your phone being hacked. And so obviously those are examples that may not be necessarily what y'all are related to. Those aren't necessarily within the purview of what y'all work on, but there's all different there's a lot of things that are affecting folks, and so I'm just curious from y'all's wheelhouse if there's anything that stands out as a trend or maybe some cautionary advice for folks that are on this call that they could take back home with them or pass along to others. Thank you.
So cautionary advice for everybody, seniors or not, but seniors do get victims a lot, is fraud. And the different types of fraud, I mean, just endless. We could be on here till next week talking about different ways that the fraud happens. But the important thing to remember is to always pause, because what fraudsters do is they use fear and rushing to get you to have to do something. Like, I'm sure you've all gotten a phone call that the sheriff is on their way to their house, to your house. And so now it's not just a phone call from the saying the sheriff's on your way, but now people are getting emails saying that there's a court case in New York City with a ridiculous caption number against you because you owe money. Send us $400 now. And people are falling for that because it seems real. But like everything, the important thing to do is to pause, step back, and get some space from it, because that's what happens. They get you on the phone, they get you by email, and then they just rush you through so you don't have enough time to think. So from my perspective, we've always seen the foreclosure cases and the eviction cases, and those are what we work on a lot. It's the fraud that just keeps coming through time and time again, and it's being on the lookout for that. And a lot of people, once they are a victim of fraud, are afraid to say anything because they're really embarrassed because of what has happened. And it's important that they still call the fraud line at MPD, or they make a report to the Attorney General's office, because the Attorney General's office has a complaint line, a consumer complaint line. So it's important to get this information out and then figure out what the next steps to do are. Often if we've got a senior whose bank account has been some way threatened, right away we want that bank account closed so nothing else can come out. But the other important thing is every month, income comes in, whether it be Social Security or employment automatically being put in. So there has to be a new bank account open. So there are steps that must be taken immediately after becoming a victim of a fraud. And then generally on fraud is identity theft. The very, very first thing that someone has to do if you've been a victim of identity theft is to put a credit alert, a fraud alert on your credit, by contacting one of the 3 credit reporting agencies. And you can get that information at the FTC website, and call them, because you want it to stop right away. Because if a fraud is started, they'll just keep going until they run through all your stuff. So it's very important, if you think you've been a victim of identity theft, to do a credit, a fraud alert. And also, if you haven't been and you just want to protect yourself, you can do what's called a credit freeze, which means nobody can access your credit, not even you, unless you lift that freeze. And 10 years ago or so, it was a little harder to do, but now it's very easy. I froze my credit immediately because I don't need to get a new credit card every time I go to Target or Kohl's or something. And so then I don't have to worry about it as much. So I highly recommend freezing your credit.
I would say a couple quick things just for housing specifically, and I'll try to keep this to 30 seconds or so. When you're 62 years of age, there is a form you can complete that allows your rent increase to be capped at a lower rate for seniors. I don't know if a lot of people know about that, but that is something that can help, especially when rent can go up quicker and faster than income rates do. Another thing is if you are facing any legal issue or any issue with paying rent or similar thing with your landlord, to make sure to seek out legal counsel before signing any documents. I know it sounds straightforward, but it is very important because if we can even give you a hotline assistance before you sign a document, it might be the complete difference between staying housed or not. And then if you are facing any legal action and you have any court dates, to as much as you can, remember those court dates, attend court. Even if you're not exactly sure what to do in court, being there is much better than not. Because if you fail to show up for whatever reason, you can automatically get a judgment and be facing an eviction just for not being present.
All right, thank you, Kyle. Joy, did you want to address the group one more time? Your hand is still raised.
I'm sorry, no. I will lower my hand and just say good night to everyone.
All right. All right, well, thank you, folks. From the LCE. That's obviously very important for folks on the call that joined at the tail end. There is information in the chat, and I'm not sure if you provided us with a copy of the presentation, but I imagine if folks reach out, they could obtain one. So thank you very much, and especially for your work and your service. It's obviously very needed. So
thank you for having us.
Yeah, of course, anytime. If that concludes old business, then I would move to traverse now onto item number 11, which it does look like is on the agenda, and that's Roja Liquors. And so, oh, I see. Okay, so that was edited. Got it. Okay, so with that, Commissioner Bell, did you want to tee things off for Roja Liquors? I do see that Casa is here. Coincidentally, I did speak with him last night about this, so I know he's eager to get the ball rolling, so to speak. So I'll pass it over to you, Bill.
Yeah, thank you. So a few months ago, there was an application for renewal of Roja Liquors license. I wasn't in attendance when it was discussed and voted on, but I had requested that we protest this liquor license renewal for various reasons, which I will mention. At that time, the commission voted to protest, and we initiated. I initiated a protest on behalf of the ANC of the license. I was in attendance at the hearing that was held. The owner of Roja Liquors was not in attendance. Following that, the APCA board dismissed the application, and the owner motioned for reinstatement of the application, which we opposed, and that was also denied, and the application was canceled. Again, there is an application for renewing it that was submitted again, and that's what's before us today. I will be again requesting that we protest this application. Just a bit of history. I'm not quite sure when the license was first issued, but there has been in the past some hearings, not protests that have been held, I believe. Back in 2018, there was a settlement agreement reached between this property and this business and the ANC. I'm going to share in the chat the settlement agreement, which is on APCA's website. The reason I will be requesting that we protest this application again, I will state the reasons in the chat. These are the reasons that I will be requesting. These are reasons, these are boilerplate reasons that are typically given for protests, but each of them are relevant to this case. The number one is the effect of the establishment on the real property values of other properties. This is evident if you have ever visited the property or have looked around the property. The next one is the effect of the establishment on the peace, order, and quiet, including noise and litter provisions set forth. Specifically, the peace and order and litter provisions in particular are relevant to this case. The next we have whether the issuance of the license will contribute to the overconcentration of similar licensed establishments in the neighborhood. Anyone that has lived in 4D does not need further explanation of this. There is many licensed liquor stores in our neighborhood, in particular, less than 20 or 40 feet. I'm very bad with distances, I'm sorry to say. From this liquor store is another licensed liquor store that has a B license. This one is requesting an A license. So for that reason also, I would like to protest. The last one is the proximity of the license to schools, recreational centers, daycare centers, libraries, and similar facilities. We have to include the text of the protest exactly as they are, but relevant from this is actually at least the schools part and the daycare centers. The schools, it's a few blocks away, but there are several schools in this neighborhood, as you know. But more important is the daycare centers located within 500 feet radius of this property, of this business are 3 daycare centers, all located on Kennedy Street. If you've ever walked around the Kennedy Street in this neighborhood, you might have seen little munchkins is what I like to call them, very toddlers and holding a rope and walking around with their caretakers. There's, as I mentioned, 3 daycares, one just across the street on the other side of 7th Street, another one on the same block as this property, and then another one on the same block again, just a little further away, closer to 5th Street. For all these reasons, and for the reasons that are very evident when you look at the property, when you walk around the neighborhood, when you walk to the property and look at the activity that goes on around the business, I would like to protest this liquor license and also ask for better measures be placed on the settlement agreement so that we can have our peace and quiet and we can protect our neighborhood. So yeah, this is basically the reasons why I would like to protest, and I hope we can vote on that later today. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Bell. Before I go into commissioner discussion and then community comments, I just want you, Bell, to clarify some of the statements that you made. So, I appreciate you diving into this to the level that you did in outlining all the specific reasons why you're opposed as per sort of the guardrails or the parameters established by APCA. It's probably what we should be doing for all of these, but that's neither here nor there. So are you saying that I want to just be sure that we're also working towards, a resolution here that doesn't put someone out of business. So are you still, it sounds like there's still a willingness to work with them. It's just that hold on, Commissioner Pinckney, for the reasons outlined, we're simply protesting. It's not necessarily that we have reached a decision, to have it revoked or anything. Can you just clarify that, please?
Yeah, I would like to say, no matter what my personal opinions are, I do not have the authority, and the ANC does not have the authority to deny the license. Well, sure. All we can do is bring the business into discussion with us and have a fair ground for us to have a good settlement agreement reached to address some of these issues that I've highlighted. the only people that can either accept an application for a license renewal or deny it are the APCA board, and we do not have the power to do that. If we can reach, and I hope we can reach, a settlement agreement to address these issues and to mitigate these issues, a business is a business and should be able to operate. But these are some serious issues that only a mediated agreement, an immediate discretion can address, which is why I would like to go through the protest process and revisit the settlement agreement and reach a new agreement that addresses some of these issues.
Okay, great. Yeah, no, thank you for that explanation. Clearly, the licensing agency is the one that adjudicates on this at the end of the day. If I were to go back in time, I would have said that, we're moving towards a recommendation, whatever. But, so with that, I'm going to move to Commissioner Pinckney, whose hand is raised and who's been waiting patiently because I don't see any others raised at this time. I will note to the secretary, it does appear someone's trying to join the chat. So not the chat, the meeting. Mrs. Johnson, if you're able to let her in. And with that, Joy, take it away.
Okay, I have a sense of unreadiness. I've expressed it with no comment back. So we're forcing me to say what I feel needs to be said in an open forum. Number one, and I've shared this before, that it is not our position as a commission to decide what types of businesses can be in our neighborhood, whether we agree with it or not. Number two, the application that you want us to reject or whatever it is you want us to do, Commissioner Abell, the old one is the one that we collectively reviewed, not the new one. We have not reviewed and reviewed together what's in the new one, which means that we're not giving the new application, which is equal to a new day for review, an opportunity to have us to be fair. Now, maybe it's not just me, but did I miss a conversation about the new application? Has everybody compared it with the old application? That was my first thought. Okay, now if we can say that it's just a copy of the first one and we're going like that, then that's fine. But I thought that Commissioner Abell said that the ABRA board said that noise level does not determine whether people keep their licenses or not. And some of the other things that he mentioned is not grounds to use. Okay, so I'm a little confused. If they get a right because they lost their opportunity to go before the board because they didn't show up that day. And their reason was because of, I guess, some emergency or whatever. So when they went back to ask to put it in again, the board said yes. So this is a new application. So, and because we as an exec board have not collaborated together, then I really believe, we need to consider the court date. If the court date is going to convene before our September meeting, then yes, by all means, do whatever it takes to stall it, because I think we would start a precedence that we can't afford to continue, because after this, somebody else's liquor license could be up, and what, we're going to say no because it's a liquor store? No. So why don't we look at the application first, look at the list of the agreement they had that they're not sticking to, and we just write up a new one so that we don't have to put them out of business. But if they really cannot be in that space and do what they're supposed to do, then of course they're gone. But I don't know anybody on that corridor. I live on Kennedy Street, and I got plenty of people who go to that store. Yep. So I don't know who in the community, other than, you know, our observations. I don't want the babies to have to be around the liquor store, but I'm a native Washingtonian. There's been liquor stores on every corner, well, every other corner since I've lived here. And as a kid, it's a part of who we are. Okay? The trash on the street, to some degree, is not their responsibility. It's the city's responsibility. Now, the stuff in front of their building, they need to sweep it. They need to keep it clean. Okay? So if it's stuff like that, yeah. But we haven't had the pleasure of talking about this new application amongst ourselves and come to another agreement because it's new. So I just have questions before I can vote.
Well, I mean, it sounds like then, Joy, you along with myself might be in favor of protesting this application tonight because we don't have the information in front of us, and using that opportunity to to pump the brakes, so to speak, on the regulatory process, which to reiterate is solely in ABCA's hands, and that will give us time as a committee to look at this internally and decide the best course of action forward. So I'd be happy to entertain a motion towards that. But before we do, I did see two commissioners' hands go up. I would just close in stating that, Joy is absolutely right that, the city's zoning officer determines what land uses go in each neighborhood. If you look back on Google Street View, the Roja Liquors was here before the daycare. So it's not that it should be adversarial. It's just, the zoning dictates what can go in a neighborhood. And when people do evaluations of property to determine whether the business is viable, they're looking at those uses and they're looking at what's permitted. So, again, it's a neighborhood. It is nice to have a liquor store down the street because if you're having a party or you just get off of work and you want to grab things, they're right there. But, again, to Joy's point, it cannot be chaotic. Folks that run businesses that sell controlled substances need to take those hearings and those legislative processes seriously because you are selling something that's regulated that can be abused. And, I live across the street from this store and, I've had issues myself with all types of bodily fluids that we're not going to get into and all types of outrageous behavior. So I will support a motion to protest this application because while I believe that, it's not up to us to determine what goes where, I do think that we have a responsibility to make sure that the businesses that are operating in our district are, meeting the basic requirements and, not contributing to chaos. So all that is to say, I will now pass it to Commissioner Amon, followed by Commissioner Bell, followed by, well, would it be all right if, well, Commissioner Amon, Commissioner Bell, followed by the applicant, Casa.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify a couple of things in response to Commissioner Pinckney. There's no application. I think the application is just, there's a placard notice and then the commission has to decide whether to protest or not. So the information that we have is exactly the same, no new information as what we had last time when we decided to protest. There's no updated application to review or anything. There's just the placard notice and the commission has to take a vote. And also just to clarify that the dates on the placard notice, the due date for a protest is before our September meeting. So if we were to protest, as we decided to a few months ago, to renew our protest now, we would need to vote to protest today. And I think as Commissioner Lucarelli has stated, that can be part of the process of working with the applicant to make sure that their business is working with the community and serving the needs of the community. Obviously, as Commissioner Lucarelli said, I agree that the zoning plan dictates what can go where, but as a commission, we also have an expectation that our businesses are good neighbors and especially abide by the terms of settlement agreements previously signed with the commission. And if there's a concern that the business has not been following previous settlement agreements with the commission, which are the commission on behalf of the community, I think that is a problem and is worth continuing the discussion via the beginning of a protest process.
May I have a question? Because the bill's going to come.
Yeah, real quick.
So when we protested, would we still be able to negotiate, update the what is it called? The agreement?
Settlement agreement. That's my understanding.
We can update the settlement agreement. I'll ask him. We can still update the settlement agreement, but we're protesting. So we're protesting what?
Placard.
Okay, go ahead. Bella's going to tell me.
Okay. To reach the stage in which we go into mediation and reach a new settlement agreement, we have to protest. That is the way to get to that stage. And to respond to your question, actually, Aman, could you allow me to share my screen, actually? I appreciate that. As to the application, you can see here an email sent to us on July 12th, which included all ANC commissioners. Included with it, the only thing that we get, which is a placard notice, including Roja Liquors. And within it is only one single document, which explains what is being asked. It has the address of the business, the date by which we have to protest, which is August 26th, and then the hearing date of September 16th, which happens to be my birthday. I will have to miss that. As for the reasons I gave, there is only specific things for which we can protest, and those are actually written into law. These are the reasons that we can protest, and those are the reasons that I gave in the chat. These are the only reasons that are acceptable for the ANC to protest. ANCs, along with 5 people, or I believe it's 5 people, 5 people coming together in the ANC could also protest, but we are also one of the entities that can protest. And a protest does not mean the business shuts down. It does not mean the license is lost. It just means we first have a hearing, and then we could even, I believe, avoid a hearing by reaching a settlement agreement before the APCO board reaches a decision. And so to get to that stage, we have to first vote to protest.
Okay.
That's where we are here. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I recognize, because when we were talking in another application, you all were going through this process where you protested and then working back and forth with a settlement agreement, but I just missed the process to get there. So thank you very much. All right. Well, I will support the protest.
Okay, great. Thanks, Joy. Last up, we have Casa, who's the applicant. Casa, do you want to unmute yourself and go ahead and speak?
Good evening, everyone who are attending the meeting. Let me explain my name. My name is Casa Ragao. I am running Roja Liquor almost 20 years, and we do all our sold to this business to build from the bottom up. We comply with the ABRA law. We don't have any violation selling minor cigarette or underage liquor. And fast forward, we have only one time we have it was the ANC settlement. That time was some young people was inside my building. They do some bad stuff, and that thing, they helped me. I remember the ANC Commissioner Nancy with the 4D officer. They, not only me, the ANC Commissioner and the 4D, they removed the people from my property. Now, there's no anybody in front of my store or inside my store loitering. There was a vacant building both sides, 624 and I think 618, 616, 614, beyond that, vacant building. As long as the vacant building, even if you call the police, that is public space or it's none of my business. If they are loitering or littering in front of my store, I clean it. I told them to move. They move. If not, I can call because that's my property. Beyond that, there's no way I can control. Even most of the people they hang in the store, I can show you the paper they buy from the store. They can enter to the store. People, they think they buy it from my store. Even sometimes they laugh at me, oh, you don't let me buy from your store. I bring it from 9th Street or 3rd Street. I get this drink there. That's not all the bottle in that area. It's not only me. I have all the people, most of the people, they cannot come to my store. The only power I have is bar the people. I did so. But when I call the police, sometimes they say public space. I can control outside of the building. They say public space. With ABRA, I don't have any single violation complying the law. Any single violation in the past 20 years. I own the building. I pay like you guys do property tax. I pay business employee payroll tax. I pay income tax. I'm not just running the liquor. I own the building. Where do you want me to go? I don't understand really. This is why I have been here. Most of you guys here before you here. It was a bad neighborhood before. Getting better. No rush because those people are they hang in front of the store. I know most of them since the kid they lost their house, and sometimes they can go hang another place. I feel sorry for them because most of the young people, the family, they lost the house or maybe moved to another place. I know them from they go to school. I've been known the neighborhood for a long time. I don't have any problem. I don't know why these protests really come to me now to get even my license the second time because I was missing that meeting. I have to hire a lawyer to pay extra money.
Yeah.
Right now, the business is really suffering. It's not like it used to be busy. It costs me money. One way or the other, if you guys push me like this, you push me out of business.
Mr. Rojas?
Yeah.
Mr. Rojas, this is Commissioner Pinckney. I have a question for you.
Okay.
Have you seen the list of the agreements that you made with the commissioners before? Do you have your listing?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. So, of all of the things that are listed on that paper,
yes,
how many of those things have you not done? Or better yet, how many of those promises have you kept?
All the promises with ABRA and ANC with the settlement, I comply. If I don't comply, the ABRA, they came to investigate. They send undercover, they will give you a ticket or they revoke the license. I comply. I don't have any violation.
Joy, are you saying that he may have violated some of the terms of the settlement? I'm asking honestly.
Okay, all I know is like CC has said it a couple times that this man and his business has violated the agreement that was made between him and his last approval.
This is a different business. This is not.
Okay, so he has not violated a now I'm really confused. He has not violated his agreement that he had when he got his approval last time.
Never,
I thought
ever.
you said we have
Never,
to renegotiate one.
Hold on, Casa. Abel, we're getting off the rails here. Abel,
Okay.
are you aware of any violations with Roja?
Yes. In the settlement agreement, in paragraph 3, and I will read it. Applicant shall endeavor to keep the exterior of his property, including the front sidewalk.
Hold on, sorry. Violations. I'm not yet to the point where we're asking about restrictions. I'm saying, are there any recent violations that we need to know about? Because I just want to clear the. Okay. All right. So go ahead.
I'm reading the section of the settlement agreement which is being violated. Applicant shall endeavor to keep the exterior of his property, including the front sidewalk, back areas of its premise clean and free of trash, bottles, and other debris to comply with the District of Columbia Code and municipal regulations. The applicant shall inspect its front sidewalk and back areas each morning to ensure that they are free of trash, bottles, and other debris. If trash and bottles and other debris are found, the applicant will clean up these items within 1 hour of opening. The applicant shall monitor those areas sufficiently throughout the day to ensure the trash and bottles and other areas are promptly removed. This is constantly and periodically being violated throughout the day, and this is one of the main reasons we are protesting.
Understood. So you and others among us have observed violations, but there are no per se violations that APCA has confirmed, and so that's what I was driving at.
No, but it is, because when he got approved, see, this is why we do the agreements, so that APCA can also put that in the terminology, so that he knows that these are things that he has to do per agreement.
Got it.
Okay. And so therefore, if that's the only thing, then the question I need to have for him is, because he said he cleans up the spaces that are his, but any space that's not in front of his place, he doesn't do, because that's public property. That's not his property.
Yeah, exactly.
So if the public is expected for him to do clean up past the left and the right side of him, is that really? That's not his responsibility, and he's clear on that.
Yeah, no, I hear you, Joy. And, I think what this reminds me of is that, we're going to have a nice discussion internally.
Can I something?
1 second, Casa. It sounds like there's definitely a lot to talk about here. And what I would ask Casa is that, after this, we're going to close the public, we're going to close. I would like to close commissioner discussion and weigh in and see if the public wants to weigh in. But what I would say is that, Casa, at the end of the day, no one wants to take away your business. We appreciate that you have, stuck it out and been here, as long as you have. I anecdotally, because I live across the street, I have observed, a number of times where, things are happening, in front of the store as opposed to 2 or 3 buildings down. And so, I agree that there are some issues here, and I would just encourage you, to take these matters very seriously. Please work with us, and please take the hearing dates very seriously, because, at the end of the day, on paper, alcohol is a controlled substance, and that's why there's this regulatory agency involved that controls the sale thereof. And so, please work with us. Please be open. We don't want to see anyone close their doors and lose their livelihood. We just want to make sure that, there's a confluence of factors here. We have a daycare. We have, lots of folks that live in the neighborhood that use the bus, and that, shouldn't their freedom and liberty and, safety and welfare shouldn't be infringed upon by anyone, coming to the neighborhood and doing things that, they shouldn't be doing. And I know that's a very, very small percentage of the people that come in there, but because it is an issue that we've identified and that multiple commissioners have noticed, it leads me to draw the conclusion that, it is appropriate and necessary at this time to protest the application and take one more bite at the apple with this settlement agreement, because, we've seen in other instances with other settlement agreements whereby we have asked, for certain measures, and they have worked. And so I'm confident, based on your character and your willingness to come here tonight, that, we can do that. So if there's any more commissioner discussion, I'd be happy to entertain it. Otherwise, I'm going to let Casa close this up, and then I'll entertain a motion to I would entertain a motion to vote on this item as we're at 9 o'clock. We've missed Jazz. That's all right. This is obviously more important, and I mean that, but because we want to get through this agenda. So Cost is up, and then I'll entertain a motion to vote. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Carson. There is Abra investigation agency. Any violation, Arba will fine or give you a ticket. You can go my Roja liquor license. You can see any violation regarding the settlement agreement. There is none. The bottle or the trash is most of the time is, the fence, the place, that fence. Even I can go in because big fence. My front, I went so many times before I open the door, I clean it. It's not only every time I see, I go outside, I put glove, I collect. Even most of the public space, I trash it because that was the agreement. Even if it doesn't, it's not mine, but I follow the agreement. Abra has investigation. They came, they checked inside out. Any violation, you can see it. Go to the past since the agreement. Any violation, there is none. I'm sorry to say it, but I have to say it really. I don't know why. What is the reason? Okay. What is the reason? I don't understand really.
No, and that's why we're here, which is to help make clear what the reasons that we're protesting for. So Commissioner Bell, who represents your district, has cited concerns related to the operation and to the operation of the establishment. And someone who wants to protest an ABCA application has certain guardrails by which they're allowed to protest. They can't protest because they don't like the color of the building or because your name starts with a certain letter. They can only protest based on certain parameters. And the parameters that Abel has outlined and discussed in great detail, have compelled some of us, at least up until this point, to want to put a pause on the application. We're not saying that we're not going to support it. What we're saying is let's pump the brakes. Let's get together and let's talk about. And that's why I was saying, I hope that you will be willing and available to work with us, because again, we don't want to see you out of business. We just want to make sure that the violations outlined here are addressed in this new settlement agreement. And so, there's going to be more to come here. And I would just ask again in closing that, you work with us. You've been very honest up front, with us about the things that are going on. But, at the end of the day, it's really important in order for this to reach a conclusion, a sunset, we need cooperation. And then, we also need, your attention to the hearings as well, because if you miss those hearings, it doesn't look good on you as an applicant, and, it can result in an unfavorable decision. So, in the interest of time, and because we have one more agenda item, and because we need to open this up to the public, I would entertain a motion to, is there anyone from the public that wants to speak on this item? You can do so by either dropping it in the chat or raising your hand. Otherwise, if hearing none, I would entertain a motion to protest the application with the intent that we work together and collaboratively with CASA and the community to create a settlement agreement that is more appropriate for the building as it operates, which may result in some small changes. But again, it's not to put you out of business. That's not the direction we're moving in. We just think that the settlement agreement may not be addressing all of the concerns that Commissioner Bell has outlined and described. So with that, do I hear a motion?
Second. I make the motion.
All right, I have a motion from Commissioner Morenzik. Do I have a second?
No, you said we're not doing any motion until after you get hands or get anything on the text. Have you got anything from the community?
Oh, that's right. Sorry. Do we have anyone from the public that wants to speak? I thought I raised that. I don't see any hands raised apart from CASA's that is still up. Abel, your hand went up, then it went down. Do you want to talk?
No, we should I'm sorry, let me come on camera. Let's allow the community to speak if anybody wants to speak.
Okay, great. Yeah, so if there's anyone from the public that wishes to comment, now would be the time. Drop it in the chat or raise your hand. If we hear none in 30 seconds, then I'll move to a vote. All right, so that's the 15-second mark. Hearing none, do I have a motion?
A motion that we protest this application.
All right, I have a motion of Commissioner Morenzik, 4005, to protest the application for the business otherwise known as Roja. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Bell. All those in favor, please signal by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say
Aye.
nay. All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it. All right, Casa, we're going to, just to be clear, we're going to let APCA know that 4D is protesting this application with the intent that we come together as a commission and then later as a cohort with you to craft a settlement agreement that addresses some of the gaps in that Commissioner Bell has identified. Commissioner Bell, hand raised.
I just wanted to point out that the next stage will be a hearing. The initial hearing, this is just to, it's actually not even a discussion, it's just to both of us appear, and it's going to be on September 16th. Asa, if you could make sure to be there, it is to your benefit, and I will be there as well. Thank you.
Commissioner George.
Yeah, just one thing. The hearing is part of the APCA timeline, but there's nothing stopping us from like immediately or whenever is convenient for us starting to discuss what a settlement agreement could look like. I think APCA would be happy for us to reach an agreement without needing to go through the full set of APCA hearings. So just to be clear, that the APCA schedule doesn't have to be a bottleneck to us getting started.
I agree, because also from what I remember, we really, it would be better for them to, because they usually replace our settlement agreement. They replace the protest with the settlement agreement.
Yeah.
Okay, so the sooner we do it and send it, the better.
Yep. Yeah. So I mean, if one were so compelled, I mean, we could start, turning over the engine tonight, and I mean, we could. I mean, I'm not speaking for myself. I don't know how ambitious other folks are, but yeah, Joy and I are on the same page. After this, it's, we're out. Okay, so all right, thank you everyone. Casa, please stay in touch. As we've said, ad nauseum tonight, please make sure that you are there for the hearing. It doesn't reflect well, to be blunt, if someone isn't there, and APCA is more than likely going to side with the ANC or their own wisdom. And so please make sure that you or your agent is there at that meeting, because again, we want to work with you and we want to make sure that you're here for another 20 years. We just want to address the items that Abel mentioned. So with that, we're going to go to what I believe is our last item, and that is the agenda item that we added in a somewhat impromptu matter at the beginning of the hearing, and that is DC Water. And that agenda item was put on the table, so to speak, by Commissioner Corniotis, and so I will let her take the floor. Thank you.
I think we covered it when we were speaking with Derek earlier, and I think the recommendation was to invite Mr. Briggs at our September meeting, which I wholeheartedly agree with. And in the interim, I'll do additional digging as to, if there's any other things that we can do in the interim. My child is currently biting me, so it's very painful. Anyway, so that's the issue, basically.
All right, thank you. Again, I'm just going to put the plug out there for Mr. Briggs. We had a water main break on the block where I live, on 700 block of Kennedy Street, right in front of Oncho. I messaged Mr. Briggs very late at night, and he responded almost instantly. So I will say to both my fellow commissioners and the folks on the public, who are on this call, if you're having an issue with a water main, or something is bursting or breaking, let one of us know. And, Mr. Briggs is very responsive. There were literally crews out there the next day, and they had the repair fixed within 10 days. It didn't have any deleterious impacts, to the property where I own and reside. However, I do understand that when these things happen, it puts people in a pinch, especially those who have lesser economic means and or are mobility challenged, aging in place, et cetera, working 2 or 3 jobs to keep the roof over their head, et cetera. So I totally understand that there are a lot of constraints here. And, you know, we should all have access to basic rights and utilities like water because it's necessary for our survival, literally. So we should definitely try to find a way to convey our collective concerns to DC Water. I do think it is strange that we've had so many boil water alerts. You know, some of them are driven by climate change, you know, a low reservoir. And some of the other ones, you know, are maybe operational concerns that could have been avoided. So we definitely need to stay on top of this. And I would just say to the folks joining us and listening that, you know, you can expect to hear more. We hear you, and, you know, we'll try to get to the bottom of this as soon as we can. I believe, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that we go next to community comments, which we limit to 2 minutes each. And again, please keep your tone and tenor respectful. Followed by, well, yeah, Anthony has motions and votes here at the bottom, but we've kind of done it. Robert's rules allows that. Anyways, so yeah, community comments. If anyone from the public who has made it this far in the evening, if you want to raise something, yeah, Bell says pray for rain. Amen. If there's something you want to raise, please raise your hand in the chat function, in the Zoom function, or type it into the chat. But the floor is yours to the 40 members that are still here with us. Ms. Johnson, thank you for sticking it out. You have the mic.
Yes, thank you very much. This is Sharon Johnson. I live right across the street from the park, the Triangle Park at Illinois Gallatin or 9th. Yes, Lorenzo, thank you. Yes. And my concern is yesterday there was a movie night. However, no kind of publicity or anything was noticed, as well as there was still a heat advisory. I think in the past when we would have the movie nights, our past commissioners, they would put notices around the park and even kind of pass out flyers or even send out emails. I guess my question is addressed to Cece. Cece, were you aware of the movie night? And if so, any kind of communication sent out to inform people? Because a lot of people walking by, they took time to express their being upset that they did not know about it.
Thank you for the question, Sharon. I actually advocated that given the heat advisory, that the movie night be delayed, but my opinion was rejected, and I was notified of like the final decision on the movie last Friday. And the movie was, as you said, yesterday. So I did put out like an email to the community and also put it on the Petworth listserv, etc. But I did not, as you stated, print out flyers, etc. Because, even as the day of yesterday, I wasn't sure that it was actually going to happen given the heat advisory.
Okay. But with that too, I do appreciate that, but I didn't get any kind of communication. Usually I know you will send an email or a text blast, and I didn't get anything. So with that, the people that I do communicate with, I wasn't able to inform them. And those were some of the ones, well, what happened, blah, blah. And I was uninformed myself. So I guess so in the future, even if it is or it's in limbo, if you can even, put some flyers around the park and then heat advisory, we can go from there. But at least some kind of notification, because a lot of people were a little upset.
Got it. And
back and I will do better.
Yes, thank you.
Sharon, I did just want to say, well, I have a clarifying question, and then I'm going to pass the mic to Uptown Main Street because they're still on. I believe that that's the agency or entity. I don't that puts on that event. So just to be clear, because they're here and we have the opportunity to,
It's not Uptown Main Street.
It's not.
It's not. No, it's DC. It's DC Parks and Recs. And also, I got an email from them, and nothing stated our park. I saw other areas, but nothing mentioned our park, which made it even more alarming.
Got it. And so just to be clear, because I think that, now that I understand that this was a city agency putting on this event, my apologies for not remembering that, but you mentioned that you were upset, or that you and or others may have been upset or concerned about it. Was it because that it was taking place in the heat, or was it for some other reason? I don't want to lead
the other reason, not being notified of it.
Oh, got it. Okay, so yeah,
because the turnout was even low, heat and all. The turnout was low because and those that did come, they came because they were passing by, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, in my experience in this role, the way that the district government notifies folks of things is really kind of off kilter. I mean, sometimes we don't hear as commissioners about something really important until literally like the hour before, and it makes it very difficult to pivot and adjust. So, maybe we could, sort of try and cajole. I don't know how well it's going to work, but I mean, I do agree that, there's very little notice given sometimes. It's why personally, I think something like a kiosk that where people can post flyers and things in the park would be great. Social media is awesome, but sometimes we want to break from the phone and just the burden of having it on us. And it's great to just read something in print rather than through pixels. I see that Barbara Rogers has posted something in the chat, and she's just so I would encourage folks to look at that. And then Commissioner Pinckney has turned her camera on and raised her hand. So I'd like to.
Awesome. Okay. Yes. And then one other quick issue too, with the Lorenzo Allen Park, and another neighbor complains a lot. Once again, they're having dogs in the park unleashed. And a lot of times people state that they didn't see signage. And from the very beginning, I've asked, because if somebody enters the park at Gallatin and 9th, they won't see any signs. And the signs aren't that big with the rules and regulations. So if we could get signs posted at each corner, that maybe would help with individuals using the park as a dog park and unleashing their dogs.
Okay. Well,
Thank you.
Go ahead.
We're working with the Office for a Clean City on that issue specifically, but I am also working personally to potentially just buy signs myself for this issue, because it is a very troubling issue. And so, we're on the same page, and I'll communicate with you offline, Sharon, as to other ways to improve, communication, etc.
Yes, awesome. Thank you. You all take care. Have a great evening.
You too.
Thanks, Sharon. All right, Joy, real quick so that we can wrap up, please.
Yeah, real quick. I'm gonna write a resolution. I spoke about it at our meeting, one of the meetings this year, about the timeliness of notifying all of us, okay, for events and dates that the agencies, when they send the stuff out. And everybody has to do better. Even the mayor's office, they send me something today talking about it's happening tomorrow. Or I get something in the morning that's happening at 11 o'clock in the morning, or, whatever. So I think, all of them need to really work on that and getting it out, because it's not on us to publicize or to remind people about their own events. They should be responsible to put the signage up, and they need to be responsible to taking it down. Okay. Now, if they want our help, of course, why not? But send us the signage if you want to, or, text it or send it so we can, I'll make a copy or two and, give it around, or put it in key places. We're not against that, but we are, as a commission, you know, we are here to support people any way we can. And that's your SMD. So you can get involved in, you know, all that, because that's your neighborhood, CC. But, you know, people.
I truly am involved in my neighborhood. Thank you.
Oh, no. Oh, ma'am, I was not talking about you, but I'm just saying I'm involved in my neighborhood. Somebody from my neighborhood might have wanted to go see that. I might have wanted to go, but I didn't know nothing about it either. So, you know, we all have to do better. And I'm so glad that you brought that to our attention, because, yeah, I'm going to write something. Because it's not just you. It's all over the city. They do that. Last minute announcements for everything. So thank you.
Yeah, it's definitely super annoying. Is there anyone else from the public that wants to speak? Raise your hand, drop it in the chat. Otherwise, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
I second.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Wait.
George, do you want to? He's got.
Yeah. Before we adjourn, the one thing that we haven't done yet is approve the minutes from last month that Abel had sent around.
Okay. Well, we can't let that happen. So prior to the motion to adjournment, I'd entertain a motion to approve June's meeting minutes. Do I hear your motion?
So move.
Motion by Commissioner Pinckney. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Morenzik. All those in favor, please signal by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it. Lastly, I'd entertain a motion for adjournment.
Motion.
Motion by Commissioner Pinckney, second by Morenzik. All those in favor, please signal by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it.
Good night, everybody.
Thank everybody for coming.
We'll see you in the fall.
Rest of the summer.
Bye. See you in September.